Are we good to go, Beena? We're good to go.
Hello and welcome everyone. Today is Monday and today is the day of doing the capital R reading of the story we did yesterday. Hello, Syl, and hello everyone. Just
Hello,
going to
Beena.
watch a
Hello,
video
Beena.
live. I hope that Norma will be there even before us. And this is how she is. This is who she is for me. Always there. Thank you so much, Norma. And of course, it's a joy to share with you also.
Oh,
And, I personally, it's an excitement day for me on Sundays. They are full of excitement that what's going to happen, what's going to happen. But Mondays and of course the weekdays for me are like, okay, yes, now we know what is going to happen. But really actually going into depth and detail, and especially what has been shared yesterday is about, it was quite revealing about who Biella is personally
yes.
and who Ursula is. And I really like that, the way she was
Yes.
expressing herself, the way they were communicating with each other, following each other, and it just spending time together in
Yeah.
those moments. That was
Yes.
beautiful, and it was quite revealing about the true uh, characteristics of Biella.
Yeah.
That is something I am really keen to explore, discuss. And this is what we are going to do today. It was a joyful experience yesterday. The story was so beautiful,
Oh,
so gentle, and so, and that was something that it was like the way they were just on the grass and moving and holding hands and sharing those moments
yeah.
of an appreciation,
Oh,
moments of
oh,
appreciation, of acknowledgement
yes.
and awareness.
Yes.
That was so beautiful.
Yes.
Truly beautiful for me, and we are going to explore it today. This is exciting, but also it is so gently, mm, yes, gentle excitement, I must say. It's a new term I'm trying to coin.
Gentle excitement. Yeah, I
Yes,
like that. Yes. That's wonderful, Beena. Wonderful. Yes.
yes.
Gentle excitement. Absolutely. Well, we're going to do that. Yes. For me too, the part that is endearing and makes me very joyful and happy is that connection between Biella and Ursula, where Ursula she's not even hesitant or reluctant to share her deepest thought and feeling and perception and intent. Yes. She's saying to Biella, just came out, I want to be noble. Well, first she says, I want to be a noble. And then, and Biella says, and because she says it in the first, she says it in that way, I want to be a noble, right? And then she realizes, actually, I mean something different. And because Biella says, and she says, nearly says, and what? But then she trusts Biella and she says, well, Biella wouldn't say and if there wasn't an and. So I'm not seeing the and, internally her mind is working like this. No, I'm not seeing the and, but let me figure it out. And she does that and she trusts that and. And this is the point. We're going to go over that when we go now. But what I mean is that to say is that you touched on this. The friendship between Ursula and Biella is already a profound friendship. And that happens, right? Look, when we started, we connected, we were friends right from word go. You don't have to take a long time to be friends, yes? And just on, you can get there right away. Yes, it gets deeper as you go along, but you can also get there quickly, yes?
Yes, yes, yes.
It's a magical thing, in other words. It's a very, very magical thing. It's just beautiful. It's
It
very,
is.
very beautiful. And I like that. That makes me very happy, when I see this. I see this depth between them. But this is a thing with the new nobility, that they make friends very quickly. And not even if you aren't friends, they have developed the ability to relate and connect, discuss, share on on any level immediately. So it's just who they are. They're quite happy to share the most profound or intimate things right away. They have nothing to hide. So there's no barriers to anything. Right? It's a big deal. It's a big deal. That's not necessarily obvious, but it's good to be aware of. And also the ability to speak just at random. It's a skill. It's not an ability, it's a skill. Do you waiting at the bus stop and you can get into, just say a few things and suddenly you connected on a different connectivity, on a profoundness, a moreness connectivity that, see, I'm saying connectivity instead of level. I don't want to say level. It's just a different type of connectivity, which that's just how they're thinking, they're observing, they're paying attention. And whatever they share, it's coming from that perspective because that's their brain is so in that mode. But they also understand that this is not necessarily where everyone else is at. So they're able to make that bridge connectivity. Yeah. That's a very powerful thing to be able to do. Very powerful and very wonderful too. You'll be amazed at what happens when you share moreness with people and you do it in a connecting, appropriate way. This is just something. Yeah. It changes our ability to connect and interact. And you'll come and like with bureaucrats or people in the check cashier, whatever, doing mundane routine jobs. You can connect even in a few seconds in a different way. You don't even have to say something, just in your greeting, like with the drivers, right? And it changes that now their day is changed. Your day is changed. It always, it's reciprocal. It's wonderful. It feeds off itself. It's compounding. It's just a magic, So every time the drivers come, I get a little bit of magic. So I invest into it. And not just invest, but I also am doing things differently. And because of that, the entire nature and the relationship is different. And it's a very small thing. It's a very small thing. I know I've mentioned this many times, but it's so significant because it is so different relative to the usual, and it takes so little for it to be different. Now, that little is a little more than is needed. There's nothing needed. I don't have to say anything to the drivers. And if I'm not here, they're going to deliver the packages too, right?
Yes.
There's no requirement for me to say anything whatsoever.
Yep.
Yeah, but I do. It's just that little extra. And the rewards of that little extra are massively profound. This is what I'm trying to say. It's not that you do a little and then you get a little back, or you get, maybe a little more than a little back. No, it's a tiny bit for a massive reward. Massive. But if you don't realize it, and sorry, Beena, hold your thought. I want to say, if you've never done it, first of all, your perceptions may imagine that it is more effort than you imagine, right? And secondly, that so you may think you need to put in more energy, and then you're going to get less out of it. So you have to experience it.
Interesting.
Right? So you have to do it to really see the ratio. A little tiny for profound. Otherwise, your imagination may put you off doing that. You need to have that experience of doing these bonus things and then seeing, wow, that there's so much more to it.
Interesting. What I was keen to share with you, because when you were saying that, okay, in just very brief moments, in just very brief interaction with people, with nature, with anyone or anything, when when we actually initiate some positive, joyful uh, expression, leave the other person, other thing, or anything completely outside of this. It brings joy to you right there without any response from anyone.
Oh, exactly. It makes no difference.
That I just make my world, my surrounding positive just by doing.
Exactly.
That is the
Exactly.
immediate benefit.
Exactly.
First thing. The
Exactly.
second thing, when we interact, sometimes it is well appreciated, acknowledged, and accepted, and people add more to it.
Correct.
Sometimes we get people in a bit surprise, like,
Yeah.
oh, like what is this? They 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 feel shocked, but they still feel positive, and they become very conscious, self-conscious, that okay, these people are behaving in such a way. For them, it's completely out of, which actually gives you a lot of awareness about not only yourself, that what you have, and be appreciative about that, but also that what is not available or common in outside your own circle, which is very profound. Every single time, it gives me a lot of information, a lot of awareness about these things. So it's a second benefit of. Third thing, even when you don't get the exact same kind of response, or sometimes even not a positive response, every single time when it happened, you become more and more aware and more skilled to not get affected by all those things, even if the response is not positive.
Exactly.
This is another benefit of this.
Exactly. Exactly.
I personally want to add a bit more because I
Oh,
want to explain it, to elaborate a bit more, because
wonderful.
almost all my friends says that we don't feel any time has passed between us. Like, oh, we are meeting you, we are meeting together after so many years, like 3 years, 4 years.
Hmm.
You meet and greet us exactly the way you were before. You don't feel that there was any
Yes.
distance between us, no
Yes.
communication. There was
Yes.
time gap between that. And I
Yes.
was puzzled by that, like why it has to be. Because when I am with any interaction, when I am in that moment, I am living those moments deliberately, even if I was not aware of it.
Exactly.
That's why I know everything about. I don't need to remember anything. I will not forget those moments. I was
Yeah.
getting value, and
Yeah.
I was thoroughly deliberate about that. I was paying
Yeah.
attention. I was earnest. I was sincere.
Exactly. Exactly. And
Absolutely. For
those
me,
qualities transcend
as
time.
me, exactly. I don't need to like, okay, now, oh yes, I feel awkward and all that. Nothing. For me, the person is same. For me, I'm the same person. Okay, yes, though I change a lot, but still, the core is something connected to them the same. I can still enjoy the company exactly as I was enjoying before. Does the
Yeah.
connectivity is always necessary? Yeah. And also the time gap. People put a big deal, make it a big, huge deal out of that. Okay, oh yes, oh we are not being in contact, so it's going to be awkward and all that. For me, it was never been even a single thought about it. I want you to
Yeah.
elaborate it. Why it is so duh for us,
Yeah.
but not for the people.
It's fascinating. I think maybe Beena, when we connect with our real selves, our spirit, our soul, there's no time there,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Interesting.
Well, just as a thought, there's no time there. It's pretty exciting to think of it in that way, no?
Yes, because I feel that okay, am I not paying attention to the time, which I feel that it's a useless thing. It is not
Oh,
going to be affected by any if we pay attention or not. yes, you have to be careful about wasting your time, what you are doing, and all these things. But just well, paying attention like that. Oh yes, it's been long. We have been just in communication, and not now. Is it going to be awkward? For me, never been a situation. When you were mentioning about communicating, interacting with strangers, for me, it's like, duh, because
Well,
I'm not dependent on other people's responses,
right.
at least not
Exactly.
initially. I am
Exactly.
not.
And right. Okay, go.
No, no, no. Please continue.
I say also, it's the nature of the conversations. When we discuss broader, deeper topics, topics that are essentially that which is in the abstract, but not abstract as in removed from connectivity. When we talk about abstract topics, like love or passion or enthusiasm or energy or positivity or intent or etc., any of those topics, they're not time dependent. It doesn't matter, right? But when you're talking about, something like politics, well, it's the politics of now or then, right? Um, Same thing. Okay, religion could be transcend time, but still, those things are usually connected to something. Most conversations are connected to time in some way. And if you're speaking about more deeper, profound topics, they're not time connected usually, right?
Mm.
So that's why it makes no difference where you were before and where you carry on, because you're connecting directly to the person. You're talking about things that are them. You're talking about things from you that are you. So it's a you to you discussion, not me talking about things that are going on in my life. And then you come back, well, that stuff's long gone. Or me talking about your things, which are also timely. And then when we come back, those things are gone. So the connection stays. That's why it's like that, because you're talking about, real stuff that lasts, that's timeless. Very powerful thing to have timeless or conversations about topics which are timeless, because that's what matters to us. That's who we really are as those things. The other stuff comes and goes. So how can it be me? Yeah. It's
Mm.
what stays, what endures. That's me. Yeah. Make sense?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. It does make sense.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's just very cool. And it's just a different, fun, profound way of interacting, communicating, connecting, that you transcend this other stuff, which once you start thinking that way, you start to realize, the little details, they don't really matter. Now, also, when you do connect deeply with someone, you become interested in those details simply because they are interesting to you, which is a profound thing. Right? So you get a double bonus that you can discuss the trivia, and the trivia is fascinating to you because you're connecting to the real person, and therefore what's of interest to them is of interest to you just by extension. That's real deep friendship to me, or caring, loving, and all falls under that. Yes, when you love people, you're interested in their details, their trivia. Because
Yes.
you're enjoying
Yes.
them, because you already know who they are. Doesn't matter what they say. They can say anything and you enjoy it, right?
Yes, it happens. It happens.
No.
Simply, whatever you do, you enjoy that. For
Exactly.
me, it is
Exactly.
these, even my close friends, and I with whom I spend a lot of time together, like when you were studying, when you were doing a lot of other things, like entering in professional life and all these things. Even my cousins, some like, yes, almost everyone. Okay. I don't know. I cannot uh, describe their features. If you ask me, I will not be able to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like what is their
Yeah.
eye color or hair color or height? For me, connecting with people is not connecting them with appearance, with visuals only,
Oh.
and
Oh.
especially I do kind of like bypass that visual. For me, that person is whenever they will come back, they come up with the whole interaction, the feeling. and whatever we have been sharing, now I'm getting a chance to actually sort my thoughts and my perspective on this when I'm sharing with you. Before that, it was not clear to me. So I'm
No,
sharing this just for my own purpose to get more
no,
clarity about
no,
this.
no, no. It's really
This
interesting
whole
that, like you
process of
say, oh,
connecting
good.
with people, going beyond visuals,
Yes,
is so huge.
yes. It is. It is because you're connecting to the real person. What does the visuals matter? Oh, you're connecting to the, where'd you go?
Yes,
Oh, you are there. You're connecting to the real
yes,
person. Yes.
yes, I'm here.
Yeah. I'm saying, or maybe I'm dropping.
Exactly.
Oh, you're connecting to the real person, the actual
No,
person.
it is
Yeah. I think, Beena, I think on this,
exactly.
we need a bit of Shakespeare. Just for extra perspective, yeah. On this point of appearance, when it's not an issue, it's not a connection, it's not where how you think, how you relate to a person. So I think we need some Shakespeare on this, no? On this point. What do you think? Yes, no?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, you can?
yes,
Okay. Okay. All right. Here we
yes.
go. Sonnet number 130. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun, by William Shakespeare. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips is red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun. If hair or wires, black wires grow on her head. I have seen roses damasked, red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. And yet, by heaven, I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare.
Oh,
I remember the sonnet from when I was at school. I remember the sonnet. I remember the sonnet. Right. It's making the point of what you were saying. That
yes,
you made a specific point to say you don't remember what they look like. Well, he does remember
yes.
what it looks like, but it doesn't matter. He's saying it's irrelevant.
Doesn't
Yeah,
it's okay. It's few things, yes, I do remember. It's not like I'm completely blind
correct,
over.
correct, correct.
It's it never actually stays in my mind
It's not
because it's
relevant.
irrelevant.
Exactly, exactly, exactly,
It is
exactly,
irrelevant. What that
exactly,
person makes me feel, what that
exactly,
person brings
exactly.
value, what value
No,
actually they bring.
no,
This is what most
no,
important, and how
no,
much I care about them. Okay, no matter what
no,
they do, but how much I care about them is the most important thing for me. If I like
no,
that person, it has nothing to do with them. It is completely my
no,
responsibility. I
no,
like them. I enjoy their company. I was their friend. I never even asked that, okay, they are my friends or not. I said, okay, I'm your friend. If I'm saying I am your friend, I'm not expecting that you will be my friend too. I
right,
really want, but not with anyone like specifically. I accept something in exchange. No, if someone will say that, okay, I'm your friend, that is something different. Of course, I do have friends, but not everyone is. When I say, okay, I'm their friend, not everyone is my friend, and they don't need to.
right,
There's no problem with that
exactly,
because it's my
exactly.
my feelings are my responsibility. And if
Yes.
I something exactly like if I like Rose, does Rose have to do something about it? No.
No,
All
no,
it needs just be Rose. That's it.
exactly, exactly, exactly. In other words, this are free friendships. That's what I call them. Free love, free friendships. it is totally irrelevant. My joy in enjoying you doesn't have to be reciprocated. The rose doesn't have to do anything to me. Just keep on being rose or tree. Exactly. Now think of
Whatever.
it from the other side. Yes.
Uh-huh.
When
Yes.
you walk by and I'm the tree or I'm the rose or you are, right? So you're the
Yes.
rose, you the tree, and I walk by and you see me enjoying you or
Yes.
notice or perceive me enjoying you. What do you do?
Yes. I will feel good.
You just keep on doing what you did before. Makes no difference.
Exactly. Exactly.
Exactly. You were rosing before I came along. You were treeing before I came along. My interaction not going to make any difference. You're going to keep on rosing
This
and treeing.
is this is the biggest problem in relationship, at least as far as I have
Ah,
observed in by my friends and families and of
ah,
course cousins and everyone, that one they like each other. I guess, oh, the girl was really bubbly and all cheerful and joyful, and then she has a very peculiar way of dressing and all those things, and
yes.
and that guy loved her for that. And suddenly, when they get married, then he starts saying, "Oh, it's not okay. It's not appropriate. You need to do this." And suddenly,
Yeah.
they both become like almost like look-alike, miserable people.
Yeah.
Why do you like that person? Let her be, or let him be who they
Yeah.
are, who they were. If I want to, if I like Rose, just an example here because you bring that sonnet. So if I like Rose, and then when I will get it, what I'm going to do? Try to make it marigold?
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Exactly. You can't change it. You can't change it. You got to leave it. Exactly. Got to enjoy it as it is. Enjoy it as it
It's,
is. Yeah. It's
of
amazing,
course,
you know.
we adapt
We what?
we adapt each other's behavior
Mm.
and of course likes and dislike. It happens organically. It happens because when you spend time together, when you share a lot, when you have when you feel good in each other's company, then of course you start sharing mutual interest and all these things, and it happens organically. People do change, friends change with for each other. Okay, you like
Yeah.
this, I was not into this, but now because I like your company and you love this, so okay, we are going to do this together. This
Mm.
is how things are.
Mm.
No pressure, no stress.
Yeah. And what's the greater magic of the friendships? Yes, you are rosing, you are treeing, and what the others do, it's not. There's not an expectation. There's no need for them to do. However, what happens in actuality is what they do when they also tree and rose. It compounds the two together. And now you get a 1 + 1 = more. And this is fantastic. Now doing even the simplest thing, mundane things or even tiresome things becomes fun to do it together. Because it's not the thing itself, it's the opportunity to do it together. Yeah. Different,
Yes,
different,
yes,
different,
yes.
different thing that
Exactly.
arises. And you get a transformation of your reality. And this is incredible, very incredible, very, very incredible thing. And this was happening somewhat with Biella and Ursula. Yeah, right, Beena. It's a big deal. It's a big deal, very big deal. All right, let's go. Let's go to the story. Yes, yes, Beena. Where'd you go? You muted.
Yes.
All
Yes,
right,
yes,
there's
yes.
screen share, and there we go. I think Norma's away today. By the way,
Can you hear me?
yes, I hear you. Yeah.
It's
You
a
see this?
delay, big delay.
Ah, right. Okay. Okay. Here we are. Being noble, chapter 7, part 1. I feel I'm going to skip this because we've gone over this many times, right? Or do you want to go through it again? Beena? You want to go over this part again? You muted again. There's no background noise, so you don't have to stay muted. Right. It's always a matter of personal predilection. Always. Because choosing the noble, is a free choice, not something we have to do. That's what makes it noble. From the perpetual aspirant. Nobility is so I'll read it anyway. It is the school of, it's from the perpetual aspirant, one of the additional works, supplemental works, yes? Norma is here. Brilliant, Norma. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. We're just talking about friendship and magic and love and all these things, and how when you love your friends or your partner, how even doing mundane things with them is a joy because you enjoy being with them. The things are merely a mechanism, leverage. It's a very profound thing. So we change, right? The mundane becomes a sublime in the presence of love and deep friendship. It's a very profound thing. I'm glad you're here, Norma. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you said hello. That's wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Norma. All right, I'll read this opening quote to this chapter. And as I was saying, this is from a work called The Perpetual Aspirant, in which these reminders are for the aspirants, those things that are common. And Benabulous is back. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Fabulous Benabulous. It is the school of nobility, not the school for nobility. This is interesting that this distinction is made. Not a problem. Never be sorry, Norma. Never be sorry. This is in the very opening page of the story, where Biella reflects on this to say, it's the school of nobility, not for. However, it is also a school for nobility if you take the for in a different sense, or nobility in a sense. It is a school for the cultivation of nobility or nobleness. Yes. It's not the school for nobility as in a category, a class. See, that's why the distinction was made. And why they have that in the charter, and why whenever you put out pamphlets or whatever they're putting out information on it, they make this distinction because it's the distinction between old nobility and new nobility. But in some senses, it is a school for the cultivation, for the growth, for the acquisition of nobility. Well, I guess it's more activation. You already have it. You just got to activate it. Yeah, no, never be sorry, Norma. Never be sorry. I'm just thrilled you're here. Even if you came in the last second, I'd be happy. Yeah, any time with Norma is precious. So it doesn't matter how much. It's all bonus. It's all bonus. Nobility, nobleness is not a given. And here the distinction comes, right? When you say nobility, it could mean the hereditary thing. But when you say nobleness, now it's the quality of being noble. It's the other meaning of nobility, right? Not as a class. No, being noble, in other words, is not a given. No one is entitled to it. You cannot be. It's impossible. It's available to anyone. Absolutely. Anyone. This is not, you don't have to be born a noble. You don't have to go around being noble most of the time in order to have it available to you. It's like this, just have to do a little extra, right? So it's always available. The school of nobility is open to anyone from anywhere. How can it not be? Yeah. How can it not be? Now, when we say anyone, we are talking of those who are self-governing. Yes. There may be criteria. For instance, if you literally got some mental defect or illness or something that doesn't make you in charge of yourself, well, then no, sorry. You know what I mean? Like if you suddenly just go off on wild rages and tantrums or go around smashing things or who knows whatever. I'm just taking particular behavior, but so this anyone in the sense of not being in charge of themselves, right? So that would exclude children as well, right? From anywhere, of any age, at any time, for this reason, for the reason that it is of nobility. The pursuit and acquisition of nobility is a process, an ongoing process. One new noble ever ceases. It must be never, Beena, not ever. Yeah, just saw that now. I have to edit my files too. Yeah, I mean, just I'll come back and do it later. Just putting it in to find it, and then I'll, once I put in the searches here, then I'll just done them. And when I come back there, then it's remembered. No new noble. Oh no, it's right. It's right. I don't need to change it. I just read it wrong. One no new noble ever ceases. It's correct. It's correct. I was going to say I was surprised it was wrong. I just read it wrong. Nobility is something we have to acquire for ourselves. Nobility is an awareness. That's a very nice, profound statement there, right? To think of nobility as an awareness. It's not a doing necessarily, or actions or behaviors. It's an awareness. From that awareness, actions arise. But you could do the actions without the awareness, and it's not necessarily noble. Yeah. It's an awareness, capital A awareness. And like capital A awareness, it's something we have to do for ourselves. Nobility cannot be learned. Nobility can be learned, obviously, but it cannot be taught. Not in the usual ways, at any rate. We can share, and somebody can learn from our sharing, and they can mistake that for teaching. But it's not really teaching. Yes. It's not like when you teach somebody a skill, a physical skill of how to do something in particular, right? We have to acquire nobility for ourselves. This does, go ahead.
Yes. No, I was just saying yes.
This does not mean we have to do it by ourselves. The process is greatly enhanced when we do so in association with others. Yes, because 1 + 1 + 1 equal more. When we share, when we cooperate, collaborate, interact with fellow journeyers doing the same. Right? That's the process. Oh, the process is greatly enhanced when we do so when we share, collaborate, interact with fellow journeyers doing the same. When we are simply in the presence of others undertaking this profound activity, it makes a difference. But it's always a matter of personal predilection. Always. Because choosing the noble is a free choice, capital F, capital C. It's not something we have to do. That is what makes it noble. That's a good reminder there, good reminder to everybody, and the perpetual aspirant. This is not just for aspirants, this is for everybody. Of course, every new noble is acutely aware of this. Doesn't mean that does not bear repeating. It does. Would you like to read a bit, Beena?
No, my internet is connecting and dropping, so please continue. I cannot
Oh,
do
it's
this.
okay. It's stable enough. Read until you drop, and then at the moment you drop, I'll continue reading on your behalf. How's that?
Okay.
To make it seamless.
Okay, so from the beginning, yes?
Yes.
Biella and Ursula had walked a ways up the rich, lush riverbank under the broad willows which lined the bed. The willows intersected. No. Interspersed.
Interspersed. There's an S in there.
Interspersed.
Yeah,
Yes.
interspersed.
The willows
yeah.
interspersed with other trees. One had to look closely to see the groove had been sculpted.
Grove, yeah.
Grove had been sculpted. Even then, it was hard to tell. Ah, the smell, so pure, so clean, invigorating. The beauty of Nobelia never failed to amaze Biella. This particular
Mm.
part of the path moved through a tight copse of willows. Not only were the trees close together, but their branches were dense. So thick a path had been trimmed through the branches trailing to the ground, creating a feeling of being enclosed in a prolonged tree hug.
I just want to
Paula
comment on
smiled at
this.
that every time she walked through. A glorious gift. Yes?
That's right. Yeah, I mean, we're doing the capital R reading here, so just wanted to jump in there on this point about the branches trailing to the ground and so thick. It's not,
Yeah.
I suppose, not something that we know of as willow trees that you commonly see, maybe sometimes, but that doesn't mean that they haven't cultivated a variation or variety or species of willow where this is so, yes? And also, I want to say later in the story, there's more coming with trees. Note well, Norma, you like trees. The new nobility are super intensely connected to trees, well, just to nature, but trees in particular. And there's a big part in the story coming with trees. And they have a very deep relationship. So they understand about nurturing trees in particular ways in order to do things. Like there's a part somewhere where the benches are roots that they sit on that are specially grown with moss, so that the benches that they sit on, the benches everywhere, they're comfortable. Go to a park and sit on a bench and see how long you can sit on those park benches if you don't take some cushions with you. Not very long at all, right?
Oh, yes.
But these tree benches, and I have a picture of it, I think, that shows a bench made out of roots. You know, I think somebody had just shaped them, but they have special plants that grow in this way that you can do that, you know, with external roots, like above ground roots. Hey, Yuku's here too. Hey, Michaela, hey, Rasta, how are you? This is great to see you for a change. This is wonderful. This is absolutely wonderful. Yeah, that's good news, good news. Ah,
Hello,
brilliant,
Rashta.
brilliant. Let's say again.
I was saying hello, Rashta.
Brilliant, brilliant. A glorious cathedral of nature. She felt the reverence, capital R, reverence, swell in her. Reverence is a big deal. Actually, 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 is it rents with an E? Is it all E's? Yeah. Oh, on reverence, right? Something from the supplemental works. Reverence is a power, a mood, so much more, a feeling, a connection, connectivity, an embodiment, a communion, a profound joy, a very different joy, a joy of grace, but a joy nonetheless. For the joy of reverence lies in the fact that when we experience reverence, truly experience reverence, we also are reverence, because reverence cannot truly be fully experienced with separation. Reverence reminds us that we too are part of the magic of being. As such, if we can develop a reverence for simple things and remember that reverence need not be an occasional exercise, but a perpetual way of being, then we live with heart, we become heart, and we constantly connect to heart. Through ours, we find others. We can stand simply, perhaps with reverence for rain. Start simply, perhaps with reverence for rain, reverence for earth, the simple soil, reverence for leaves, reverence for simple life forms, laying a foundation for the reverence of complexity. If we develop a reverence for all the component parts of life, never forgetting each and every part is needed in its own way, then we get to commune with the reverence of life, transcending even reverence for life, taking us to that state of grace in which reverence is such a potent heart. The end. Does that add a little bit to a perception and awareness of reverence?
Yes. Yes.
You know, it's a comment or an understanding that Biella might throw out at any time. You know, if she felt the reverence swell in her, but if it had been appropriate, she may have mentioned this. I said, yes, to the new nobility, this capital R reverence has nothing to do in any religious sense, obviously. It is that connectivity, that moreness, that communion with what you are being reverenced by, saying that this is more, and the moreness is profound, it's special, it's wonderful, it's awesome, right? And if we don't have reverence for our friends, since we were talking about friendship, what kind of friendship is that? Yes. It is appreciation taken to its superlative. Yeah? She felt the reverence swell in her. Makes me feel like a novice, she whispered to Ursula. Makes me feel like a novice, she whispered to Ursula, who nodded her agreement, not daring to speak and break the spell of that magic mood. Norma, it reminded me to do something. There we go. Put my mic on automatic so that I'll match Beena's a bit closer. They continued up to an open section of the riverbank with no trees. Just, hello, Beena. Hello, everyone, says Michaela. Hope you people are enjoying the story. I regret I've missed so much, but I have to cope with new challenges on a regular basis. Yes. To which are you asking the question? To Michaela or to me? Beena just dropped off, Norma. That's all. So internet is a bit flaky today. Yeah, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here, both of you. I'm glad you're here, both of you. It's all good, Michaela. You know, this is a story that can be taken anywhere, anyway. What are you asking questions about, Norma? Because there's a time delay in when I see your comments. I'm not always sure what you're referring to. What were you asking about, Norma? About reverence? They continued up to an open section of the riverbank with no trees, just a thick, rich moss grass that was like walking on natural grass sponge. I don't know if you've ever walked on something like this. I have, both on moss and on grass, where it's very thick and it's got that sponginess to it. And it hugs your feet and caresses your foot and kind of kisses your feet all at the same time. It's a wonderful feeling, and they've combined this cultivated a special moss grass to have this combination. And they do a lot of this, the new nobility. They take a great interest in nature, and where they can, they extend nature. They assist nature in some variety like this, right? Nature does it of its own accord, but they just speed up the process quite considerably. What are your question marks about, Norma? What's the question? I'm keen to know. Oh, you forgot? That's all right. That's all right. Biella kicked off her shoes, Ursula following her lead. Very therapeutic was all she said, sighing with joy and pleasure, as a sensation of sinking into the moss grass took hold of her. They stood for a while, relishing the sensation. Now, I want to mention this put this into context. We cannot forget what's going on in the greater context, because neither Ursula nor Biella will. However, just because there are matters that are pressing a bit on them, it doesn't mean that they cannot take time out in order to smell the roses, feel the grass, enjoy the moreness. Yes, this is absolutely part of Nobelia-Living. Right? That this is always there, always part of it, always part of it. And in the very next paragraph here, we get this externalness pressing onto matters. But Ursula had something on her mind and it was interfering. He's starting to have a hard time of it all, Ursula said, referring to Camillus. One fantastic and unexpected side benefit of so thoroughly switching my life stance from knowing to learning and discovering is that it shifted me to a place of observation and attention. Ah, the humility of the new nobility. I am now 100% here watching live. Well, later tonight, watch beginning. Ah, I love you too, Norma. I love you too, Norma. You're a great joy and a great delight. You're a great joy and a great delight. And this is too wonderful. I feel also that this point that Ursula is making now is one I feel we need to constantly remember, constantly keep in mind. It's the humility of the new nobility, or just capital H humility, whether it's for the new nobility or not. Anybody can have it, of course. I mean, none of everything that the new nobility have is not just to them. So capital H humility is to switch from knowing to learning and discovering, one of its things. To say that, yes, I may know, but just because I know doesn't mean I don't have much to learn. I always have to learn, and I'm always learning and growing. This is just life. Knowing is something that's incidental. The object is learning and growing and enjoying learning and growing, and then utilizing that and applying it. That's it. Knowing doesn't matter. It's not a goal. Yes, you happen to know, but it's a side effect. Yes, it's a side effect of learning and growing leading to application. Sometimes we can learn, grow, apply, and kind of skip the knowing part. Like I may learn something and not really know, but I can do. Yeah. But you ask me to explain, okay, I get on a skateboard and I start skateboarding. Now you tell me, do I know? Well, yeah, but to explain it is very hard. Yes. So knowing is this thing that's just for the ego that gets all excited about knowing stuff. But when we say, ego, what's the point of it? What's the point of knowing? The point of knowing is to apply, to be aware, to appreciate. Focus on awareness and appreciation. The knowing is automatic. It's there. It's not something to feature. But she's making a very cool point here. When people think they know, they don't see the world. They stop seeing the world. All they now are consumed with is their own knowing, and sharing that knowing, talking about that knowing, demonstrating that knowing, etc., etc. And they lose connection and they stop actually observing. So Ursula said that in her old world, she really knew what was going on. She was queen of the world over there pretty much, right? She was the big shot over there, the one who knew. She was really knew that world, how to operate in it, how to function in it, how to be successful in everything. She really understood that world. But it made her not necessarily see everything. It made her a bit blind to a large extent. Not in the sense that she's unobservant. No, it's a different type of observation. So she says, from when I shifted my life stance, right? Look, it's a very particular word here. Switched my life stance from knowing. That's most people's life stance. I know or don't know. It's all about how much they know. That's how they sort of define themselves and relate themselves, right? But not here to apply, because we've come out of school. When I come out of school, in school, I'm still learning and growing. I'm a student or in college. But once I'm done with all that, well, now I'm an adult. What does that mean? I know. See? Dreadful, dreadful. Kills so much. No, stay a student all your life. Be a perpetual aspirant, and you're always going to be in that place of learning and discovering. That's your life stance. It's how you see and perceive yourself as a learner, as a grower, as an adventurer, as an explorer. Yes? It shifted me to a place of observation and attention. I don't know what I am to pay attention to specifically, so I'm paying attention to everything, says Ursula. My delight at being here, at being in your presence, leads me to want to absorb. Just take it all in. That's how I feel with my friends. I just like to absorb you. It's a joy and a delight. I just want to absorb you. I don't have to learn anything. I don't have to be told anything. I don't need data. I don't need facts. I don't need information. You, just what you emanate, like the tree. I don't need any of that stuff from a tree. Why do I need it from you? It's it's nice and fun when I get it, but I don't need it. It's not what the joy is coming from. Right? The joy is coming from simply being in your presence, simply knowing you, simply connecting to you, simply thinking of you. My delight at being here, at being in your presence, leads me to want to absorb, just take it all in. The desire to absorb, to ingest, as a side effect of alerting me in ways I had not ever expected or anticipated. That alerting, because now she's paying attention to everything. She's absorbing anything. And as she absorbs it, she's being aware of what's coming in. She never was before. And that awareness, oh, I never really saw this before. Oh, I never noticed this before, right? So she gets alerted simply because of this new attention. It's as if my senses were confined before, not confined, filtered. And this Beena commented on this in the opening. Look at how Ursula is sharing here. It starts off with her about to make a comment, or she makes a comment on Camellias, and then she jumps, right? She gives an explanation of what she wants to say. She's kind of laying the foundation here, right? There's more coming about Camellias, obviously, from that sentence. But she's saying, the more I need to lay a foundation. I can just jump there right away, but it will be a bit lost. I would not have noticed this moreness about Camellias before, but now that I've shifted to being this complete newbie who's observing everything and observing everything as if it is unknown. When we start to look at things as if we don't know them in a completely fresh and new way, we see more. We see more, much more, right, than we ever realized that we could see. And that's why she says her senses weren't confined. They were working quite fine. They were just filtering. Therefore, she didn't see. Ursula came out of her train of thought and looked at Biella. Oh, excuse me, she said politely. Now, why does she say that? What does she need to be excused for? She started off saying something about Camellias, and then her mind jumped to this sharing of her internal thoughts, right? And it wasn't particularly appropriate to the comment or connected, and she sort of lost her track and jumped and went off topic a little bit, and that's why she's saying, oh, excuse me, and also that she was sort of saying her thoughts out loud. Not that the thoughts are not to be shared, but just from a sense of that politeness and appropriateness that, you know, if you're engaged in a conversation and you just start going on about your own thoughts, well, maybe a bit impolite. But Biella just smiles joyfully at this, because she said, with an acknowledging nod to the politeness and appropriateness of itness. In other words, her excuse me is polite and appropriate. However, it's also okay. Biella says, so appropriate, run with it. Spontaneous takeaways are magical. That's what happened there. That was a spontaneous takeaway. When it comes like that, when it grabs you and takes you along, run with it. If you don't, it never comes back quite the same way. You were saying, Ursula's fast, Ursula's sharp, filtered. Ursula dove right back in, right? Not wanting to lose that immersion that she had, that connectivity to what's sparking in her brain. Our senses reflect the same filters we have on our mind, on our beliefs. Wow. What a statement. What a statement from Ursula. Ursula's become a philosopher, like Biella. Our senses reflect the same filters we have on our mind, on our beliefs. When we believe, for instance, that the world is full of negative people, right? Our eyes start seeing the negative people. Our ears hear the negative. Our body feels the negative. Because we put this as a filter from our mind and from our belief. It's a filter already. And she's saying that filter It's not an obvious point. That filter also affects our senses. You would think that our senses would perceive reality as it is. No. Our senses also can get filtered, not just our beliefs and our minds, our attitudes, right? So filtering is something that applies to all of us. But it's more than that. What was that connecting link you brought back? Attention. Yes, that's it. Attention. But from the other side, attention fostered my preoccupation. Sorry, attention fostered by preoccupation is limiting, not opening. If we preoccupied with some worry, some concern, oh, I'm preoccupied by my job and, how I'm doing in my job and I might lose my job. That attention, now your attention becomes limited by this preoccupation. It's like you're filtering it and putting your attention inside a tunnel and, well, all you can see is the inside of the tunnel, the inside of the bubble. It doesn't open you. So we have to be very careful. Attention is like light that you can pinpoint it into a spotlight or even tighter, like into a laser beam. And that's all, that little dot, that's all you're going to be illuminating if you shine a laser beam in the dark. Yes, one tiny little dot. But of course, you get a regular flashlight and it's a little better. You get a fancy flashlight and you can adjust it and it becomes a floodlight. And now the light spreads out all around you. But our awareness can be a 360 spherical flood. We can perceive up, down, below, bottom. We can perceive in 4 dimensions because we can add time into that too. So our awareness can do a lot. Yes. We don't want to limit it by being preoccupied and being too narrow, in other words, but particularly preoccupied, worried, concerned. And this preoccupied, it's coming in as a word. And that's how things happen with us. If we listen, preoccupied is exactly what's going on with Camillus. His attention is now fostered by preoccupation and it's limiting. He's caught onto a few things and they're pulling him into a bubble, into a focus, right? And his attention is going narrow, not open. And he really needs to do the opposite. That's what Biella was trying to do with him in her technique of throwing the sentences in just there, right? She was looking to open him up, not to have so focused. We see only that which we need to see to stay on track when we are preoccupied, and that's appropriate. When I'm driving and it's like I need to pay attention to the road, I can't be just have my attention everywhere else, right? And so my attention is limited to the road and my surroundings, not paying attention to everything. Right? I can to a limited extent, but I can't also to a large extent. Yes. Now, when you're driving in rain or like in a snowstorm, and I've actually driven in a whiteout, it's quite an astonishing thing. We couldn't stop, right? I had no choice but to keep driving because it came really thick and fast. And if you stop, your heat in your car is not enough, to sit there with the heat on. It's not going to last you through the night. So you don't have a choice but to keep going. It's happened a couple of times. I used to drive a lot once upon a time. And then, boy, you can literally only see the road maybe a few feet in front of you, and you just see the lines, and you're driving according to those lines. And if something were to stop in that, and you couldn't drive too slowly either. You had to kind of keep the speed of the traffic. If somebody was stopped, you're going to drive into them, but you're just trusting that if somebody stops, they're going to pull off to the side, right? Or they're not driving too slowly, because even if they're driving slowly and you come up on them fast, that's why you can't slow down, because people are going to ride into the back of you. This was on the road leading to Indianapolis, the northbound freeway. I remember there was, as the snowstorm hit, there was a vehicle, like an SUV with a trailer behind it. And he caught the skid. And him and the trailer, the SUV and the trailer, did a complete 360 and nice and slowly ended up in the middle of the road there. We couldn't stop to help. I just had to trust that, in situations like that, the highway patrol, they come through and they would take care of him and, call a tow truck and stuff. And this was the days before pervasive cell phones. This was even before mobiles were common. So, the police would call it on their radio. call a tow truck. And you said to trust. That's it. You said to trust, no thing. We survived, which was nice. Yeah. Anyway, the other time was going through a mountain pass, a similar type of a situation. Our agendas, they force that focus, that narrowing, that filtering. So we end up literally seeing only that which is relevant. Now, by implication, if we don't have agendas, we start to see everything. It's a marvelous way of living, by the way, to be agenda-free. To be agenda-free. It's incredible. To have no personal agendas. You may have a greater overall agenda of following the universe, for instance, but yes, agenda as in little a agenda. Or more precisely, we still perceive the world with our senses, but we only experience that which is relevant to our narrow focus, that which is not distraction. Wow, look at the exquisite nuance here of the discernment, right? It's still scary. Yes, Norma. Yes, it was. You know, that at that time, I used to do camera shows. You know, like you have gun shows or whatever, but just for cameras, used collectible cameras, whatever. And they were in 2 different cities in the country. So you would have like Washington and Baltimore, Boston and New York, because they're relatively close, right? Chicago and Milwaukee. And this is all over most of the United States, except the East Coast. I'm sorry, except the West Coast. We went Florida up to northern Wisconsin, and as the Dallas, you know, so it's like, and the driving, no matter, all right, sometimes it was in the cities relatively close, but on average it was like an 8-10 hour drive minimum, sometimes 12 14 hours, 16, but on average 8 to 10 hours drive. And then you go on you get there on Friday. Sometimes you sleep over, or you leave early Saturday morning because you don't want to spend money on the hotel, because when we started, we didn't have much. So we leave at 1, 2 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. Sometimes if it's far away, drive, get there. Then you got to unload and unpack and everything. And at the end of the day, you got to pack it all back. The amount of work was just beyond imagining. But it was, I got to see, I've been in like 42, 43 states. So I saw all of America, but it was a lot of work, but a lot of driving. And what was scary, Norma, is you driving along, and it's not the nodding off that's the problem that scares you. It's the waking up from the nodding off that scares you, right? And you realized, I was asleep for a few seconds there. Luckily, I never crashed. But man, that really makes me tired thinking of it just now. One has to really choose what you do. It was a very lucrative business. We did very well. I mean, I literally started with zero, absolutely zero, nothing. I had no money, no income, no nothing. I sold something on consignment for somebody. And then the little bit of profit, I took that and I started reinvesting. I went from 0 to 100,000 in 1 year. But the work, in other words, there was opportunity there. Okay, then the market changed and everything went in the second year. But yeah, we didn't stay there because it had changed. But still, staying there, it was such a high cost, and the work involved. You have to choose. You have to choose what you do. You have to choose what you do. I love agenda. How do you mean, Norma? I'm keen to hear more. Michaela, I want to hear from you too. Comments, please. Comments. I want to hear from you. However, we need those relevant connections to fill out the picture with the necessary mundanities. To fill out the picture with the necessary mundanities. Otherwise, we would not be able to function. Right? We have to have that filler. We can't over-filter, in other words. We can't have too much coming too, we'll be overwhelmed. But nonetheless, we have to be cautious here. We have to pay attention to get the balance right. Because of all of this, we don't notice filling our perception within a selection. We think we're seeing all, but we don't realize we've made a filter And now we're simply filling in everything that applies to that filter. And it seems complete to us, but it's still a filtered world. It's still a limited world. It's not the whole world. Yes? Ursula stopped walking for a second and took a deep breath. Wow, I can connect it, she said eagerly. I can connect it to what's happening here to me now. Here, there are no agendas. Nothing that needs to be done, no timetables, no expectations, no pressure of any kind. That opens up a whole new world. Amazing. Yes, yes. To be without little a agenda. So I'm not sure which, oh, you like capital A agenda. Yes, yes, yes. That's what I must say. Yes, I understand now, Norma. Yes, me too. Capital A agenda, plural for agenda, is magical stuff. This is what this entire story, the sharing, everything is about. Doing the lives, because it's all about capital A agenda. Yes, it's moreness. So for me, Norma, when I say moreness, this is a synonym for capital A agenda. Yes, it's wonderful stuff. Yes, yes, yes. Amazing. I feel, I absorb, I see, I hear, not just sounds or sights, but innuendo, inference, implication. This is a big deal. New world sounds exactly, Norma. Absolutely, absolutely. It is. It is. When we can unhook from our defaults, which are sadly are very, very, very restrictive, confining, and limiting defaults, the defaults of the superiority paradigm. They put us in this horrible bubble and they tell us this is the reality. No, it's not. Look what Ursula says. Hello back, Beena, Angel. Hello back, Beena. Ursula says, I feel, I absorb, I see, I hear, not just sounds, but innuendo, inference, implication. I had that before. I taught myself to look for those, but it was more like digging it out, as I was always doing so in a specific context with my agendas. Right? So she was able to perceive innuendo and inference and implication and all of those subtleties, but she only was looking at subtleties within a particular bubble. So yes, you see them, but you don't see the bigger picture subtleties. I was looking for certain things only. I didn't think so at the time, but realized now I was inadvertently doing so based on my focus. Her agenda, little a agenda, her purpose, her focus, her bubble, right? That ambition, for instance, that limited. She only saw things relevant to that. When we can let go of those things, we start to see them all. What a distortion. And this is the point of the poem, the Me of When poem. I didn't get to finish the other half. Maybe we'll do it on Friday. And continue through the capital R reading of that on Friday. Because this point here, that Ursula is making of seeing that she missed so much, and this point of agenda and not connecting to the more, it goes with our innateness. And it's a point that we need to change some things about ourselves. And it's a very big point in the poem. I miss so much. And we'll get to it in that. It's all related and connected. So yes, I think on Friday we'll probably do that. Take Camellias, she broke off. Or maybe not. Oh, maybe not. It's fine, Ursula, says Biella. We discuss others in depth, always in such a way that if they were to hear it with their personality turned off, it would be of no concern. Now, how do we listen to things with our personality turned off? Yeah. In other words, let's assume that you went to the psychoanalysis computer on Nobelia. And there is such a thing, right? Imagine, Beena,
Okay.
you went to the psychoanalysis computer, or you can maybe
Yes.
say, just the personal analysis, never mind psychoanalysis. Just it's a computer that it goes to you, and because it's part of the com, and the com, it's everywhere, it's monitoring everything because it's paying attention to your health and all this. So, and because they have no secrets, they're happy to have everything they say be on the com. So if you really want to go and say, I was in this discussion, but I got distracted, you can go and ask the com to give you a replay, like Grain is here, right? And you can say, well, where were you? Oh, I was in the garden of reflection. And yes, that's, or you wouldn't even have to tell the thing. You just say what time, and you say, yes, it was earlier in the morning. I don't remember exactly what time. What were we talking about again? Okay. And the com searches through everything, and it finds you, and it plays you back the clip. How fantastic is that, right? So that if you want to go over something, you can. Always
Yes.
go over it via the com. Therefore, the com has heard everything that you've ever said on Nobelia, right? It knows you, and like Grain can do a synopsis. Yes, it can take everything you've ever said and do so in context, right? And it can combine facial recognition. Yes, exactly. You don't even need AI for this. You can just have regular software do it. But okay, AI does a better job. AI is not truly intelligence at this point, by the way. It is simply exceedingly sophisticated programming. We just need to make that clear. A lot of people think AI is actual intelligence. No, it's not. It's just sophisticated programming. Yes. Anyway, so this sophisticated programming has a record of you of all your time on Nobelia. And even if that's only a few days, that is plenty for it to give you analysis. My point being that I'm getting back to in a long roundabout way. So off you go to the computer and you say, this point of personality turn off. You say, Com, could you please give me a detailed analysis on who I am, what kind of a person I am? Yeah. Like I want to present this as to a potential job, right? Maybe I'm a visitor on Nobelia, and or one of the delegates could do this and say, wow, I didn't realize we don't have this on our world, but man, to have a complete analysis of myself in this way, this would be quite awesome. Like that, that takeaway, the notes that Grain does on our entire conversation, right? It puts it down into this maybe 20 points or whatever, depending on how detailed the conversation is. It tells you what the conversations were about in those bullet points, right? Okay, so now you go to the computer. My point is, when the computer comes back with that printout for you, or that email that it sends you or whatever, and says, here you go, Beena Sidd is this and this and this. Okay, Beena Sidd listens well, and she shares. All right, Beena Sidd, maybe sometimes she forgets, and she might interrupt a bit. All right, sometimes she might whatever, and it just gives you all of these things. When you look at that, you have to have your personality turned off, because it's simply telling you the truth. If you're going to be upset with it, it's got nothing to do with the computer. It didn't do anything. It's not trying to be rude or mean or nasty. It's simply telling you the truth, right? So that's what I mean, where that's objective information that you're getting. Yes. Now you might say, well, computer, you got it wrong here. And the computer say, well, look, here's the evidence. Wow, I didn't realize I communicated that way. Like the computer say, they may be given to concern and worry, or and say, well, like you may be frowning. Oh no, well, no, I need to pay attention. I'm not really frowning. I'm thinking about it. I'm not really like disagreeing. It seems like I'm disagreeing because I'm frowning about things, but it's just my way. All right. Well, then the computer can maybe amend it. But still, you see what I mean? You in order to get value out of that, you have to turn off your personality, which says, oh, I'm sensitive to this. This is awkward, and I don't want to hear this, or take umbrage or offense or whatever. That's all personality stuff. When you switch to your real self, you'll read it with interest and say, wow, this is quite fascinating. This is quite interesting. This is quite intriguing. Yeah. Or whatever, or just read it. And, oh, yes. Okay. I forgot about that. Yeah. Whatever. Right? You'll just read it as fact. And that's what I mean. When we talk about others, and we talk about them in such a way that if they were there listening to us, they would say, wow, cool. And let's say they were observing in a room, right? Like in those interview rooms where they can see us and hear us, but we can't see and hear them. They would get fantastic value out of this discernment about them, which may be awkward to say directly, right? But because we're just being honest and we're sharing it like the computer, there's nothing personal in it. This is valuable information for anybody. connecting to it. Yes. So this is what Biella means. It's fine, Ursula. We discuss others in depth, always in such a way that if they were to hear it with their personality turned off, it would be of no concern. It's not a problem. You're not going to say anything mean or nasty, are you? Or derogatory or demeaning. So why not speak about others? Yes. I'm quite happy people talk about me. Well, it doesn't matter to me, even if they are mean or nasty or derogatory. It's like, well, that's their problem, not mine, right? But if they're discussing me and, wow, okay, this, I would be happy to hear it because it gives me insight. Other than that, makes no difference to me. It's totally irrelevant. Yeah, right? Doesn't matter.
It's not easy for me. Okay, it's not easy for me to completely ignore or like take it, not ignore, like take it for granted. Okay, whatever a person is saying, even though I know, or even if I'm not aware of it, that these are potentially my sides, my aspects of my personality. Still, it will not be very comfortable for me. This is something I'm aware of. I need to work on that. But also, that's why I say that, okay, I love capital D diplomacy, because there is one thing to say that, okay, just come and have food with us, or eat something. And of course, it is true, and you are inviting or just asking them to eat. And there is other way, like shove it in your mouth.
Yes.
Same thing.
Yes.
Same thing. But of course, the meanings are exactly same. But who will like it?
Exactly.
That is my concern. When you say that, okay, yes, eat it. They know that, okay, this is what they are going to do, shoving into their mouth. But when you say eat, or when you say shove it in your mouth, this is completely different.
Yes.
It's not about that what you are saying. It's also about how you are saying.
Exactly. We can tell the truth in many ways.
Exactly.
Yes.
First, the intent, that your intent needs to be, of course.
Exactly.
It's not
exactly.
to demean, it's not to put them down or something. No, it's first thing. And the second thing, how you are actually sharing. It is so crucial and so important.
Yes.
If you are sharing, and especially if it becomes more kind of like a bit of stress on those people who are very careful about their choices of words when it comes to foods and of course other things. If I am trying to be more thorough, more discerning, more cautious of my word selection, my vocabulary, then how can I be careless about when I'm saying something about other people? It is not going to be forgiven easily, of course.
Exactly. Now Biella is not saying that, she hasn't really commented in this on depth here, but it's implied in what she says that if you say something that it's going to be, if somebody listens with their personality turn off, they'll have a problem with you saying, because your intent is pure. However, there is a nuance here, Beena, that by implication, that first of all, they're going to now discuss Camellias because it's appropriate. And they're not talking behind his back as we normally think, right? Because that talking behind your back is just gossip. If you are discerning and discussing somebody for the purposes of understanding, how is this not something which is beneficial to the other person? Of course it is. Yeah. Because if I discuss, or like in this case, let's use Ursula and Biella, in discussing what's going on with Camellias, they can understand him further. Whether they actually do something or not doesn't matter. Just simply understanding allows them to be in his presence with greater ease, greater care, greater affection. That understanding crosses over, right? for instance, if I understand what's going on with you, you may not know what's going on with you, but through my understanding, I don't even say anything. You pick up on that. Oh, okay. And it helps you, right? It can be massively beneficial to have somebody understand you when you don't understand yourself. It's a huge
Yes.
thing. It's massive. It's very complex, to share via force of awareness, but it is something that the new nobility obviously pay attention to and are skilled at. Now, furthermore, in this discussion, Biella says, we can, as long as we, not as long as, but of course we can talk about others. It's not a problem, because if they listen with their personalities turned off, they'll be quite happy to hear this, what we're saying, right? It will be of benefit to them. Even if they aren't necessarily, they should be. Let's put it that way, right? Now, to bring in capital E diplomacy, if Ursula and Biella were to have this discussion about what's going on with Camillus in his current state, now they will have to apply excessive capital D diplomacy, correct?
Yes.
Because he is in a state where, as we said earlier, when our emotions are heightened, our senses get limited. Yes, kind of a disproportional effect. So he won't hear in the same way as what they're saying. He's going to be particularly sensitive to things, etc., etc. So they would have to apply capital D diplomacy like crazy. And in a situation like this, with Camillus being so sensitive, well, he's not quite there yet, but he's getting there. But they see it coming, right? Or at least he will get sensitive if they start going into the deeper issues. If they start pointing out that, look, Camillus, what you thought was the highest and biggest thing ever and had good reason to think so, isn't actually so. You made a profound mistake all your life, right? It's like, whoa. I mean, this is a very dramatic thing to say to anybody, never mind him. Yeah. I mean, this is like, he's turning his life upside down, very literally. So they would have to exercise extreme capital diplomacy. My point is that a level of diplomacy between the two of them is not necessary. Yes. Right. Between Ursula and Biella, they don't need to discuss this in exactly the same wording as with Camillus. They can be more neutral and have it more just they're getting to the points. Whereas with Camillus, the same discussion, they would have to apply capital diplomacy, and it would be a long thing. It'd be very careful. They'd have to kind of work carefully to get to the points and so on, right? And it's just unnecessary. It's just extra time and effort that's not needed. It's not like they, of course, they aren't being negative. They're still being positive. They're just not. There's just not a need to apply the capital D diplomacy to that same level. Yes. Now, we got in my eye. Does that make sense, Beena, what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
By the way, in your audio settings on Zoom, there next to the mic, will you check to see if your mic sensitivity is all the way up? I put mine on automatic.
I did.
Oh, okay. So Norma, is Beena and my voice, are they more matched today than the other day in the volume?
Oh,
I hope so.
Okay.
I hope so. That's why I set mine on automatic, because mine was on full. But because I have the boom mic here, I'm very close to it. So I need to maybe put mine a little less to match yours. And also I have this loud, obnoxious voice. So. Anyway, but you get my point that between the conversation between Ursula and Camillus, yes, they are of course going to be caring and considerate and polite, etc. But also they are going to be able to say the truth more directly than they might or would if they were engaging in a conversation with him, because they're applying capital diplomacy, which can sometimes take a lot more energy and effort than just saying it as simply as possible. Yes, Beena? Because as simply as possible with Camillus, to say objectively what's going on is not appropriate for him right now. Yes, you get where I'm going with this? I mean, it's kind of an obvious point, I guess. I'm belaboring it a bit. But it makes sense what I'm saying, right, Beena?
Yes.
That they don't need to apply capital D diplomacy between the two of
Yes.
them, right? Yeah. All right. Okay. That's all a
Yes.
point I wanted to make. Yeah.
That is why I feel personally that capital D diplomacy has to be innate to
Yes.
aspirants, to new
Correct.
nobles, and to
Correct. It is. It is.
spirit warriors.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
don't feel
Yeah.
that they have to do something extra, because
Exactly.
they need to, okay, and at least my
Exactly.
understanding,
Yes.
need to be always in that mood. This is who they are. This
Yeah.
must be innate to them, and at least
Correct.
this is my ideal living, where
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't feel any stress that I'm doing something extra.
Yes. Yes. Now, Beena, look at how it becomes innate. It's not because they focused on capital D diplomacy. It's because they are focused on appropriateness. Is capital D diplomacy not simply appropriateness taken to its ultimate in the context of interactions and communications and care and considerations of others? That's all it is. It is
Exactly.
absolutely
Exactly.
appropriateness taken to the ultimate. Very simple, very, very simple. Nothing complicated about it. Yeah. So it's appropriate
Yes.
when Ursula
Yes.
and Biella talk about Camellius, it's appropriate for them to simply say
Yes.
things as they are. Yes. Now, of course, if you're feeling concerned for Camellius, it's appropriate to express that, like Ursula does, right? She's that's why she's bringing it up, because she likes him and she's concerned. Now, even if she didn't like him, she'd still be concerned, right? But maybe to a different degree. Nonetheless, not too much, because that's, if
Yeah.
somebody's in trouble, it doesn't matter whether you like them or not. If they need help and you can help them and you're being called to help them by the universe, it has nothing to do with your personal feelings, right? From an attunement point of view. Now, attunement might not be so in the forefront for Ursula, but certainly for Biella. Her personal feelings for Camellius are totally irrelevant to her actions. Camellius has been put into her charge in a circle connected to directly. She has no choice but to interact according to living via attunement. This is just automatic, and it's a joy to her because it is coming from attunement. Whenever comes from attunement is moreness, it's profound, it's sublime. It is a rightness to it and an awesomeness to it, and therefore you love doing it. It's unquestioned that this is the right thing to do when it comes from attunement. And who doesn't like doing the right thing? Yeah.
Yes.
It's a magical, magical, magical way of living. And so this all comes down now, we get to this point of, the appropriateness of the conversation. It is utterly, utterly, utterly appropriate. And the how of it is also appropriate. They don't need to go into that same style as they would with Camellius, if you were present, right? But they're not
Yes.
gossiping, obviously. They are discussing for the purposes of understanding, learning, caring. It's appropriateness applied once again, right? And it comes from their care and their consideration, right? And this is just what
Yes.
drives them. So how can it be inappropriate? Yes, it can't be. It can't be. It can't be.
Yeah.
Uh, it would not. You are not going to say anything nasty or mean or derogatory, are you? This is Biella asking Ursula, right? And then Beena, if you would please share with us what Ursula responds to that and replies. Huh? What does she say? What does she say?
Let me go back here. No, of course not. Ursula exclaimed. She
Hmm.
literally took a step back. She'd surprised herself.
The
Biella
horror
clapped
of
her
it.
hands lightly.
Yes. Now, why is
It
she so
is.
surprised at herself here?
She demanded.
Right? Beena, just we're doing the capital R reading, so I'm jumping in. Yeah.
Yes.
Why is
Yes.
Ursula taking a step back at herself here,
Yes.
at her own reaction? She says,
Okay.
no, of course not. But then
First,
then
for
she said, oh,
me,
go ahead. Yeah, go
for
ahead.
me, two things.
Mhm.
As far as I understand Ursula, I guess that being so openly expressing her her expressions is something new to her,
Yeah.
because she has been
Yes.
the in that circle where
Yes.
it is not appreciated, of course, and not needed.
Yeah.
But she is very candid, and then she's saying that yes,
Yes.
that was first thing, that she is completely at ease,
Yes.
not putting in guards on. This
Wonderful
is
observation. Yes.
this
Beautiful.
this might be the first reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one was that how much she has changed. This is
Mm,
so like out of her mind, that oh, this
exactly.
can be. So these might be two reasons for Ursula
Wow.
to be really surprised by
Right.
herself.
Right. Because she doesn't just say, well, no, of course not. She says, no, no, of course not. She
Yes,
exclaims. This is like, it's
yes.
impossible now. Would it have been possible before? Let's see.
Could be.
Keep going, please.
Okay. After that, she demanded with joyful glee. Before I might have, I was never truly mean spirited. Well, I see now there are no shades really. Before I might have.
Right.
I was never truly mean spirited. Well, I see now there are no shades really. Ursula hurriedly added the last part as the realization came flooding in.
Do you think that's so?
Yes. Yes, I have to acknowledge.
She says, I was never truly mean-spirited.
Yes,
And this is
I
true,
think that she is.
right? It's
Yes.
true. However,
Yeah.
she realizes that she said nasty things. It doesn't matter whether you were truly mean-spirited or not. The end result is the same.
Yes.
What she expresses there, and the way she says it, I was never truly mean-spirited, comma.
Yes.
Then there's in that moment she realizes, because she's thinking that she's listening to not only the world, but to herself also. Well, I
Yes.
see now there are no shades really, right?
Yes.
Again, she
Like the
realizes that
truly mean spirited. You are mean, or you are not. So there are no shades
exactly,
in this.
exactly. That because the consequence to the person that you're saying nasty stuff, whether you being truly mean-spirited or not, the consequences is exactly the same. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Very, very, very significant point. And this is how people live with themselves sometimes when they do mean things. But in my heart, I'm actually a good person. Yeah, you may be, but your actions aren't nice.
Yes. Yes. Ursula hurriedly added the last part as the realization came flooding in. Yes, I have to
Oh,
acknowledge I was
one moment, one
always
moment, one
nice.
moment. Sorry,
Yeah.
one moment. Oh, Enormous says better on the sound. And she says, I'm not getting it about diplomacy. Diplomacy always on, yes. Tactfulness, yes, exactly.
It's not normal diplomacy, that mean manipulative one. It's a
Correct,
capital D diplomacy. The
correct.
distinction needs to be mentioned every single
Correct.
time for it.
Correct. Thank you. You took it right out of my mouth there. This is a very important point that Beena makes. And it's capital D diplomacy, not just regular diplomacy. Regular diplomacy is just manipulation and BS, really. Telling people what they want to hear and all that. No, that's not capital D diplomacy. Capital D diplomacy is a skill. It's a profound art. It's the art of the application of profound, capital C consideration. You are taking somebody's entirety into consideration, their awareness, their understanding, their ego, their sensitivity, all of this, their delicateness, all of this you're trying to take in. And sometimes you have to go direct. Sometimes you have to take the long way around. All of this, all of it is the attempt to communicate in such a way that your communication actually succeeds, comes across, lands, is taken in. Right? Otherwise, it's not communication. You can just say things to people, but if if it doesn't go inside, it doesn't connect, there's no communication. Capital diplomacy is taking care of all of that. It makes sure that the truth gets there, the communication gets there, the intent gets there, but it also gets past the barriers and the filters. Yeah, very big deal. But yes, to have it always on, to greater or lesser degree. Yes. Now, between really good friends like Ursula and Biella, they don't need to have it on because they don't have anything that says, I'm sensitive about it, I'm awkward, whatever. And they can just say the things directly. Of course, they can apply diplomacy in the sense of saying it beautifully, like Beena said, let's eat, or let's shovel food into our mouths. Right? This is the diplomacy of grace and beauty, which is slightly different, but it's still part of the same underlying intent, the intent to be maximally appropriate and to include in that appropriateness things like grace, like awe, like beauty, like care, like consideration, like joy. Yes? So they will find creative ways of saying, let's eat. Yes, they might say, let's shovel just for the fun of it and say it with a big grin on their face, because it's like, all right, we've said let's eat boring 100 times. Let's just, okay, today we're going to shovel up, whatever. See, part of the same point, right? Very, very cool. Makes sense? Makes sense, Beena? Norma, makes sense?
Yes, I have to acknowledge I wasn't always nice. I didn't even realize it at that time. More's the horror. But the big deal for me right now was the realization and certain knowledge. When you asked me about being mean or nasty or derogatory or demeaning, that's no longer an option for me. Not only because it would be an inappropriate here, but because I have changed.
Yeah. Not only because it would be so inappropriate here. Yeah, it's an appropriate so, Beena. I know we try. I know we're trying not to say so, but that doesn't mean it applies to not reading the so. Well done, Beena. Well done. Well done. Oh, very good.
Yes.
Brilliant. As you said, it's because she's changed profoundly. Please continue.
Okay. Arsha laughed with abandon. When did it happen? She said excitedly. How did it happen? And Biella grasped Ursula's hands, doing a little joyful jig with
You
her
know what
in
I mean?
celebration.
Right, right.
Yes,
You dance with
yes,
holding somebody's hands. They may not
yes,
dance with you, but you can. It's a jig, right? And you just
yes,
have. They may join you or not, but it's just an expression of
yes.
that deep, deep joy of celebration. Like, man, you asking that question. It's so monumental. She's so happy for Ursula, who's come at this profoundly beautiful, exciting, wondrous place in her life, right? A place of impossibility, like when you step through that portal into a magic world. Yeah, it's that same feeling. Wow, 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 wow. That's what's happened to Ursula. And how can you not be happy for somebody when that happens? Yes.
Spontaneously letting the mood express itself, it made her so happy. Ursula was connecting, truly connecting to the mood and the spirit of the new nobility. Bialis stopped, tightly holding Ursula firmly. With as much intent as she could master, she asked, why did you change? Why did you give up and let go of all your old ways? Why did you fully embrace being an aspirant? Why did you immerse yourself in not knowing?
All right, let's pause there and go over that. Here we see the exquisiteness of Biella in these few questions. Yes. We see not only her joy at the celebration of something that is profound for someone else. Yes, she may enjoy it and benefit from it, but her delight is on behalf of Ursula. It's not a personal thing, right? It's not because she's getting personal benefit out of it. So we have that nobility of joy, to simply enjoy something because it's wonderful for somebody else. It's just bonus, right? But now we see her sophistication. Ah, thank you, wonderful Norma. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We see her sophistication here in this, that in this moment, she doesn't just let it stop there. She could, but because her brain is trained for moreness, instantly, immediately, she says there's more. She connects more. First, she celebrates, she holds it, but she realizes there's a more. And in this asking, she opens up Ursula to more. The sophistication of these questions is profound, right? When think of it now, she's celebrating, and she could have just left it there, and they could have continued on to where they were going, which is to this overlook, right? They're walking up the river to look at the overlook there. Well, it's a nice view that she wants to share, and also share about the renewable energy, because it's you can see it from there. But she could just leave it, right, Beena? She could have just left it there. But these questions, there's a deep moreness to them that she's wanting to say, whoa, you know what, Ursula, as much as you realize and you had this profound realization, there's even more on top of the more that was a more already in the first place. Yes? Huh? You agree?
Yes.
Fine. Why did you immerse yourself in not knowing? Please keep going.
It's a big, huge deal. In the beginning, it is like completely opposite to what we actually look for. I want to know. That's why I want to do something. I am aware. That's why I want to upgrade my awareness. This is how the thinking mostly is, of course. I can say it from my personal experience. But not only it's been accepted and acknowledged that yes, but also there is always more.
Exactly.
It's not negating your awareness. It is just giving you the awareness of the possibilities.
Exactly.
Just so profound for me. So it is,
It's
of
a
course, it's
huge
kind
deal.
of in an inadvertent way, inadvertent way, it is not knowing, immersing into not knowing. Whatever I know as compared to what is more out there, it's nothing.
Exactly. Now, in this, when you read the response from Ursula, the emphasis is particularly important here. That's why I highlighted it there.
Okay. Because I want to be a noble, Ursula said with intensity, the joy of it infusing her. Because I want to be a noble.
Right. That emphasis nuance is a very big difference. If somebody says, a new aspirant comes and says, right, how did this happen? Right? And then the questions. Well, Ursula says, how did it happen? Biella follows up. Why did you change? Why did you give up and let go of all your old ways? Why did you fully embrace being an aspirant? Why did you immerse yourself in not knowing? If somebody had said, well, because I want to be a noble. Is a world apart, potentially. You'd have to figure out what they're meaning there. But it's not clear. They could simply be saying, well, doesn't everybody want to aspire to be, is this a good ambition to have, to be a noble, is it not? I mean, look how cool I am going back out into the agglomeration as a noble. They could be doing it for purely hierarchy, superiority paradigm reasons, yes? But Ursula emphasizes noble. I want to be a noble. And Biella hears this in her exquisite sophistication. She hears that emphasis, and this changes everything, right? Now, what is she going to have to say next? What is she going to have to say next to Ursula? She can't just leave it there, right? I mean, it's a declaration. It's got an exclamation to it. And by implication to say, Ursula said with intensity, the joy of it infusing her. She's kind of stopped. She's given the answer. There's no more apparently forthcoming. Yes. So what would you say to Ursula in that situation, knowing that this, it's sort of obvious that Ursula's not getting the full picture? What would your comment be to her? What would your next thing be that you say to her?
Because I'm aware of what happened next. That's why
Yeah.
it is, and it is
All right.
most appropriate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. You'd say and or what else or tell me more or something
Yes,
of that
yes,
nature,
yes,
correct? Right.
yes,
I mean, you may
exactly.
not say and, but you would something to
Yes,
say. Just you've got it, Ursula, but not don't have all of it. Now, if you say it that way, but if you just simply say, and you want to give the cueing, you want to give influence here, keep it to a minimum. So if you say what else, the shortest, most minimum way you can say is to ask and, right? And that's exactly what
yes,
Biella does in the next one, right?
yes,
But now we see Biella's exquisite sophistication coming to the fore, and also her concern and care in the usual negative ways or restricting or limiting ways, but as the profoundness of the joy for her friend. She's making an effort on behalf of Ursula to connect Ursula to the moreness that Biella sees, but sees that Ursula isn't yet seeing. And she's not telling her that, well, she could give a little speech to say, well, this or that. And she could tell, no, she prompts Ursula to connect to it to herself. Yes. And Ursula, to her great and monumental credit, Ursula is
yes,
she grasps, because she set aside everything. Her instincts are naturally taking on the instincts of the new nobility, right? It's so apparent in there. The whole environment is full of it. So this gift of this and, because look, and Biella pushed, holding her grasp on the moment tightly. And first she says, and Biella pushed,
yes,
holding her grasp on the moment tightly. And all caps, and it's a queuing. And
yes,
it's a question and a queuing. And
yes,
Ursula nearly said, and what? But she forced herself not to lapse from the moment. Right there, that speed of Ursula. She's so intent on being a new noble. She doesn't want to let go of any of this, right? So she shifts in those moments. This is Ursula's great skill, and it's one that we can all have. And make this intent to shift in the moment. She knows to say, and what is going back to the old, right? And she can see it coming in herself, but she doesn't do it anyway, simply because it's old. No, she recognizes and she shifts. She recognizes and she shifts. This has happened multiple times. It is a skill that we can develop. Yes, doesn't take that much.
yes,
All you need to say is have a bit of fearlessness and a bit of boldness, or in this case, to have adventurousness, to say, what's to lose? Right. And she understands that the old way is, well, it's old and boring. Let me try the new. It's not a risk. It's not a risk, because the old is boring. So the new is likely not going to be boring. Well, where's the risk? It's not risk. It's opportunity. Yeah. It's joy. And it's a massive skill that we need to cultivate to do this, so that we don't get stuck in that repetition. And simply, even when you know that there's no value to it, you do it anyway because it's known and comfortable. Now, bow with that. Bow with that. It's not uncomfortable to explore the new. It's joy. It's joy. We need to change our associations, in other words, right? Newness and
yes,
unknown is not uncomfortable. It's joy. It's exciting. It's fun. It's adventure. Yeah. So the adventure
yes,
mindset is very big deal. Very big deal to the new nobility. Massive, massive, great big deal. And
yes.
Ursula, you read from the and. Ursula. Yeah, there you read.
And Ursula nearly said, and what? But she forced herself to not lapse from the moment, taking her cue from Biella's thought focus, using it to focus herself on what obviously had to be more, trusting the circumstances and Biella.
On what obviously had to be more. Why is it obvious? Why is that obvious? Somebody might say, and why is it obviously more? If I was Ursula and you said to me, and I might go like, well, and what?
Yes,
I
because
don't
it's
see any
Nobelia.
more.
Because
And
it's
because
Nobelia
it's
and it's
Biella.
Biella.
Exactly. She trusts Biella's intent. She knows already that Biella does not say anything just pops out of her mouth. Everything has moreness behind it. So she trusts this, that innate trust that we were talking earlier, and that giving of this assumption of a deep and positive intent. So Biella, there has to be more. It's like, duh, she's putting it together. Ursula has started to listen to implication, as she said. Yes. And to also hear her own expectations and to unhook from those. And say, well, there obviously has to be more. It's like a duh for her. It's like this comes very quickly, right? Trusting the circumstances and Biella. Very, very, very cool. Very, very, very cool. Yes. Thanks, Joel. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. See you. See you. All right. Sorry for the shouting. I just see them, I don't have time to put the mute on. They're only there for a second. Right. All right. Trusting the circumstances and Biella. Please continue.
Biella.
Yeah.
Because I want to be a noble. She repeated to pick up the thread and make the connection. I want to be a noble and I want to, she closed her eyes, going quiet, concentrating on what she wanted so much, tuning into all her feelings and desires, sorting through them, arranging them by importance, throwing out those which weren't to the absolute she was looking for. She wanted the highest one.
Wow.
And I want to be noble. But she shouted with realization. I want to be noble, Biella. I really, really want to be noble. That's what impressed me about you. You, not just a new noble, you are noble. A big difference. That's what grabbed me. Saying I wanted to be a new noble was just a way of saying it, a way of saying I want to be noble. It would have seemed presumptuous then, or it would have felt so to me. To say it so directly, it feels almost egotistical to say it now when I think about it. A moment ago, I was caught up in the purity of it. But if I think now of saying it in front of others, I'd be reluctant to, for it implies I believe I can be noble. That isn't necessarily so. I hope so, but it's by no means a foregone conclusion. I mean, what can it be?
How can what
You're
be,
mute,
Beena?
Syl.
How
Yes.
can what be? How can what be? I just I had extra deliveries today, like a large load. So Joel made 3 trips. That's why I went outside and put myself on mute and say thank you. Yeah. He says, look, it's he said, it's no matter. Lot or little, it's no matter. It's his job.
Wow.
What a magical, in that simple thing. He appreciates me sharing it, but he also says, look, it's my job, so it doesn't matter. So cool, so cool. Moreness, moreness, moreness. Little things, little tiny things, right? It's still wonderful. All right, so please recap this slide for me in terms of what's going on here, because I was outside.
Okay, I'm just going to do the quick one and then we will end it, and because I have things
Oh,
to
it's
do.
time. Oh, okay.
Yes, and it's time.
Okay, well, we'll start it tomorrow then.
Okay, yes.
Norma has to go too.
Yes.
It's all good, Norma. We're really going into, this is not about the story, it's about the little parts, each sentence of the story, the implications.
Yes. Yes.
So the plot here is not what's going on. The plot is sharing the awareness, the realizations, the understandings, the sophistications of both Ursula and Biella. Right? And Ursula comes to this profound understanding of the difference between wanting to be a noble and I want to be noble. She clicks what she really wants because she made that effort to go inside. She clicks. And it's a massive, massive difference, right? And then she gets a little bit more detail on it and she goes into it, right? And this is part of what she's picked up from the Nobelia culture, is that when you say something, you are encouraged. It's part of the culture to extrapolate, to go in depth, to share, to spread it out so that you can get the full moreness of it. Yeah, see all the perspectives, polish all of those facets of the diamond. It's a magically profound thing. A magically profound thing. All right. Wonderful. I think I'm getting myself all in a mess over here, by the way. I'm paying attention. I suspect I might have stuff on my beard, but I'll just keep my beard hidden underneath the camera. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, I'm enjoying what I'm eating, but I was hungry. All right. So all good, Norma, all good. And we'll leave it here on what is this? And we'll continue tomorrow. I don't know what slide it is. I can't see the slide number. You see?
Yes.
Only if I have the slide numbers activated. Yeah, slide 11. I don't know. For some, oh, there it is. Oh, now it comes. Okay, I just couldn't read it. All right. Slide 11. We'll continue tomorrow.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Okay,
All
yeah.
right. I'll see you
Thank you,
soon.
Norma.
And
Thank you, everyone. And thank you so much,
yes.
Syl, for sharing. Bye for now.
All right. See you later. See you later. Bye-bye.